Good. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Viewers or those who are watching Kunku TV, I am your host, Ali Usau. Here with me in the studio is my every host, Babukar E.A. Buso. Inshallah, we welcome you to another program that we have on Kunku TV. Without wasting much time, I will allow my boss to greet the viewers of Kunku TV.
Yes, good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much indeed, Kongo TV, for having me here. My name is Babukar Yebuso, as the host rightly said, and I am famously and literally called the icon of truth. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
It is a mashallah. Thank you so very much, Mr. Buso. It is a pleasure and honor having you here once again, and I'm sure that you do a program on Congo TV. Tonight we'll be delving into the assessing the effectiveness of Ecowas, as well as the impact that Ecowas has in this sub-region here. To start with, Mr. Buso, how can one assess the effectiveness of Ecowas when it comes to dealing with the security in the sub-region here?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for the question. I believe before we look at the effectiveness of Ecowas, first let me try to tell you who Ecowas is. Ecowas is a body that is responsible for the integration and cooperation of West African states in the region. It is called the Economic Community of West African States. Actually, it was founded in around 1975. Since then, most of the countries have been independent in Africa, and if you want to assess the effectiveness of ECOWAS, we have to draw back to historical lens and see around 1960 up to 1975 what happens in Africa, whether ECOWAS, based on its formation, aims and objectives, is able to tackle the problems that it wanted to tackle, or whether it has forged ahead in trying to at least showcase a loophole somewhere. Thank you very much.
Good, that is a very comprehensive answer that Mr. Buso has just give us a brief background of when ECOWAS was established. And in order for one to assess its effectiveness, Mr. Buso, I think that is something that is very important, because we have ECOWAS here, that is Economic Community of West African States.
Yes.
So it is here in order to help the countries to reduce these trade barriers and the tariff that is being laid on goods. So you understand? Now, recently, Mr. Buso, we realized that 3 countries have withdrawn from ECOWAS.
Yes.
We have Burkina Faso, we have Mali, and Niger. What do you think prompted this, and also what impact could this have on other countries?
Yeah, actually, it is true that 3 countries, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, have backed out from ECOWAS membership. And this is also going back to saying that ECOWAS may have failed in one way or the other to protect the integrity of this particular country or their sovereignty, or what it was mandated to do, such that this country, as mutual members, are not satisfied, and therefore they back out. It is true that they have backed out, but one of the reasons for their backing out, based on what is archaic, is that they have accused ECOWAS of not being standing with them, or in fact, they have called on Ukraine, for instance, the leader of the alliance, that is Alliance for States of, or Alliance for the Sahel, States of the Sahel. So you call it the A, is French acronym, as in RAS. You understand? But based on its English name, is the alliance of the states of the Sahel. If you look at these particular states, there is something they have in common. One thing is they are all landlocked countries. So you understand? And ECOWAS have a principle that countries like the landlocked countries must be primarily, and fundamentally served based on their needs. If you look at what they have, you will see that this country, based on their landlocked nature, they have only 0% in terms of water. They have no water. Like if you look at the percentage, it's 0.75% of water that they have.
Exactly.
They may have any other resources, but they don't have water.
They don't have water.
Yes. Not only that is the problem, but there are insurgencies in this particular Sahel region that are fighting not only the citizens, but even the armed personnel of these countries. So what is more prevalent is all of them are being led by juntas, and ECOWAS is against that. And you have understand that all the countries that have been backing out now are against the ECOWAS policies, especially to return back to democratic rules. That is the main thing.
So you could understand that the reason why these three countries have backed out from ECOWAS is as a result of ECOWAS not standing with them during their hard time. But you know that these three juntas, military juntas that have backed out from ECOWAS, it might be in their best interest. But what impact could this have on the citizenry of these countries? As we have citizens of Mali living in the Gambia, and Gambia is an ECOWAS member country. So now, what about if things turn around? What impact could this have on them negatively?
Yeah, actually, both ECOWAS and the countries that have backed out are aware of the impacts that this is going to cause. And one thing I think they have accepted is to allow the free movement of people and goods from one place to another. Because they have not closed their borders according to the alliance own aim. They said they have in fact not condemned ECOWAS passports. You understand? ECOWAS ID cards can continue to be used. But then what they say is that they brought their own biometric ID cards and also their passports within the Sahel state. There is a particular agreement which ECOWAS have in common regarding this particular welfare of this country. And I believe if you look at the economy, which is one aspect, the economy of Burkina Faso, or let me say Niger, has been seen to improve significantly in 2024. More than it has ever increased. It is one of the fastest growing, economies in the world now.
Wow!
And that has come as a result of the sanction, because when ECOWAS sanctioned these particular countries, they in fact threatened Niger to relinquish their military positions and then return back to democratic roots with very serious threats. You see, Mali, and then of course Burkina Faso came back and said if ECOWAS attacks Niger, and in fact, one of the threats was to use economic intervention or military intervention and depossess or dethrone those particular juntas in power. But Mali will tell you that if Mali and Burkina Faso coming together, because they are the Sahel, they know the threat because it is the same way in which they are sitting. So they knew that if they allow ECOWAS to just do that, as simple as that, then they also have in the same threat. But what is the problem here now is, all these, in the historical context, all the countries were colonized by the French. And inside, we have seen the French forces fighting, helping, of course, aiding the insurgents, according to the allegation. It is an allegation that they are helping the insurgents instead of helping the countries themselves to topple the insurgents or the separatists to abdicate or to ensure that there is peace in the country.
So
this is a war that goes on there in the forest itself. And a report came not long ago that Ukraine says it aided the separatists to kill not only Malian civilians but also their soldiers.
Look at that.
And what happened is, then the Malian government, ordered the Russians to come. They called them the Wagner Group to come and help them in fighting these insurgents. Yes, they also called on UN to at least put a particular claim on Ukraine against this particular. But UN did not either, do anything that is meaningful or whatever. And ECOWAS has a hand in this. But ECOWAS is also being charged on allegations that it plays double standard. For instance, whenever the bloc has seen soldiers toppled, a government, a democratically elected government, then they put a lot of sanctions. But yes, when democratic elected leaders default the constitution, that is what we call constitutional coup, ECOWAS still side with them. We have seen this example in Guinea-Conakry. We have seen it in, of course, Cote d'Ivoire. You understand? We have also seen it most recently in in Mali, of course, Alpha Conde's case.
Exactly.
We had also seen it threatening in Senegal.
Exactly.
And this is what we call, what the, members of this particular state call hypocrisy. So Ecowas is charged to be hypocritical in the way they administer rigorously the cases of this particular countries.
I think that is very clear, like Mr. Busso said, like ECOWAS was playing double standard when it comes to the cases. Most of these democratic elected government will do what we call constitutional coups.
Yes.
So nothing will come out of it. But the time that the military hunters take over the government, this was the time they started sanctioning them. And you've made mention that when they sanctioned Niger, that was the time they become economically powerful.
Stronger,
they become stronger and stronger compared to before. So that will take us to the next question that you talk about, like these three countries have formed an alliance, and after forming that alliance, they come up with their own biometric passport. So what are the anticipated benefits of creating a unified passport among these three countries?
Just like fostering the policies of ECOWAS, their policies, their main aims or their targets are not far from the targets that ECOWAS have. For instance, one of them is to pool resources to build energy and communication. The other one is infrastructure. The other one is establishment of course, common markets, which we have seen in ECOWAS case. The implementation in the monetary union. ECOWAS has this as a long-term goal, but the economy, the ECO itself failed when they wanted to implement it. That means ECOWAS failed to implement their policy, their long-term policy in terms of controlling the economy. They know that each country is using its currency which has a colonial effect or colonial impact, or it is a colonial legacy, because the French colonies are using the CFA, which has an affiliation to France. Of course, other countries that are the Anglophones are using different currencies from the Lusophone countries in West Africa. So this became, very difficult for ECOWAS to control the economy. But these Sahel regions coming with a particular economy or particular currency that is being unique to them will help to at least try to ease expenditure and other things that the currency will take care of. Enabling industrialization also is one of the aims, the targets that they have. Investment in terms of agriculture, mines, and even the energy sector within the end-term goal. So these are some of the goals that they have. And if you go to ECOWAS objectives also, they are the same. But whether ECOWAS is able to treat them as landlocked countries, you understand, to help them in what they need, is the question mark in parentheses. I think that is why they deem it necessary to back out. Hence, they have been given threats by ECOWAS, and therefore they could stand on their own and then form an alliance.
Good. Mr. Abuso, what will you say to this suggestion that, in fact, the reason why these three countries back out is as a result of ECOWAS not being able to take stringent measures to some of the things that are happening in countries that they claim to be democratic countries. So these people have seen to it that most of the countries that ECOWAS call or consider to be democratic are in fact the very ones defaulting the constitution, and nothing is coming out of it. And also, like you've talked about this, how this unifying passport that they have. Now, how could this also impact the border mobility also?
I will come to that, but let me just throw you back to a little bit of what you are saying. That the lack of consideration of these particular countries, especially the larger countries. ECOWAS focuses more on the smaller countries in terms of conflicts than the larger countries. This is the case that has happened in Sierra Leone, it has happened in Liberia. Of course, George Weah handed over peacefully. Sierra Leone also, and by promo continued. But what happens in Nigeria, when they want to sit, ministers were sitting to discuss Niger's issue after the coup in 2023. What happens there is an agenda popped in which served as a threat in Senegal. The Macky Sall in April was supposed to declare the election. But in February it was seen that Macky Sall refused to propel in terms of relinquishing power. He had 9 months into his mandate. You understand? And it was alleged that he wanted to increase his constitutional mandate to go into third term. You see that? And Macky Sall is a prominent figure. Senegal being one of the most democratic countries in Africa. So if democracy is where you betray your constitution, then what is democracy for us then?
So, when this happened in Senegal, I don't know whether if you've seen any official statement from Ecowas condemning this whole thing.
Yes, actually, in terms of their agenda to see in Nigeria, they said instead of ending the conflicts or the problem that was cited in terms of the countries in like Niger and Mali and even Burkina Faso, they shifted the agenda now to solve the Senegalese issue, and that is why Macky Sall was ordered to declare to return back the election to a similar, or to the same, or in fact, if not the same, to a closer date, and then to conduct the election and leave. You see, because he has already exhausted his 2 terms. You understand? In fact, even the opposition leader, not the opposition leader, of course, the opposition leaders are always against Macky's own policies, but even the leader of Macky's pastor, Amadou Ba, was against Macky's own decision to prolong the election. So you also talk about how it is going to affect the border movements. So this is what the 3 countries are aware. The leaders are aware of this. I think ECOWAS in fact has allowed them to sit and reconsider their decision in coming back, because any move in stopping them from, or stopping Africans or West Africans from moving from one place to another is going to be a very much great detriment for both parties, even ECOWAS itself, and also the other countries, because they are landlocked countries. They will need to rely on other countries, and that is why they don't prevent anybody from moving into ECOWAS regions, or in fact in their own alliance.
Exactly. I think that is very clear. Like I said, we have our boss here, Mr. Buzo, joining me today. So just to continue, Mr. Buzo, we have seen that the alliance or the union is already been formed. What challenges might arise in their structure and governance as compared to ECOWAS?
Actually, both parties will benefit and lose. You understand? Because if I come to the statistics, you will understand that the constitution of ECOWAS is about 446 million people before there was the defection of these 3. They had about 46 million people who were estimatedly the population of ECOWAS. Not only in land area, but then the population size. So about 76 million back out if you compare these 3 countries. If you combine them, about 76 million are back out from ECOWAS now, from the 446 million. So it is a significant reduction in terms of number. You understand? So that is going to affect ECOWAS constitution, but what is true is that these particular countries also have their own plans, and if you look at how they are going to be constructed in terms of how they will build, it's going to be smaller. For instance, if they have a resource that is going to take care of them in terms of finance, it's going to be smaller than if you compare what ECOWAS have to cater for the other regions. You understand? And they have minerals, of course. They have minerals. They don't have the water, but they have other resources, including the mines. You understand? So I believe they will strive, but there will be problems. But one of the major things that will affect them is that ECOWAS, if ECOWAS were, let me put it this way, if ECOWAS were willing to help them fight the insurgencies in their area, then it would have been easier for them. But right now, the 3 countries are thinking of putting about 5,000 militants or military personnel or forces to fight against this particular insurgency. What will occur is, if they continue to use their military to fight these insurgents, and the insurgents become stronger in terms of their resistance, then there will be a problem that the Sahel region or the Sahel alliance will face.
Exactly. So now these are some of the things that we've seen. Like they can be able to fight these insurgents when they come together as one force. But since they are back out from ECOWAS, this could have an impact on them.
But the reason for their backing, according to them, is one thing is ECOWAS is not helping them in terms of what I explained, based on the UN intervention, the peacekeeping there. So they are trying to allege that, some Malian soldiers who were said to be killed by the separatists were being sponsored by the Ukrainian, the Ukrainian government. So this is why the Malians, of course, the alliance of Mali, we are supporting the Russians against the Ukraine. So you will see that there is a division already in ECOWAS.
Okay, what lessons do you think this union can learn from ECOWAS in terms of their successes as well as their failures? Because to them, ECOWAS, some put it like this: ECOWAS is a toothless bulldog.
Yes.
You understand? They cannot do anything in order to address some of the issues that are the challenges faced by this country. So now, what are the things that you think this new union formed by these three countries can learn from ECOWAS, both in their successes as well as their failures?
So in fact, even in these particular countries, they are divided. There are divided opinions in terms of what is going to occur. One of them, of course, believe that the alliance or the alliance for the state or alliance you call alliance of state state of the Sahel should not have backed out from ECOWAS. But others believe that this is the only way that they can be truly independent. You understand? Because independent is only true when you are sovereignly independent. But they believe that the ECOWAS, which you have just mentioned as a toothless bulldozer, is only able to help the Westerners in trying to westernize the colonial agenda in Africa, which is in the form of neocolonialism. So for them, they are anti-neocolonialism and they are also anti-ECOWAS. So you will see that they are trying to play two roles here. That is, they are going to ensure that they are truly independent when they form this federation or confederation, and again they are going to ensure that they recover their true autonomy in terms of sovereignty.
So do you think that ECOWAS can be able to resolve this matter, to take them back to ECOWAS again after they have tried so many chances? I could remember they once sent the president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, to go and discuss with them. But after all, we haven't seen anything. We have no sign of them coming back. Do you think that in the long run, ECOWAS will be able to convince these people to come back?
No, I am not sure that ECOWAS will be able to convince these people to come back, because there are a lot of things that they disagree with ECOWAS. And even when ECOWAS thought that they are not going to back out, they still continue to back out, and they now, in fact, mention that they are, going to introduce their own biometric ID card and so on, involving these alliance nations. You understand? So I'm not sure ECOWAS have given them, a condition, or in fact, given them a leeway to come back and rejoin, because it is to the benefit of ECOWAS. The more members they have, the more vibrant they will become in terms of resources. But then, whether they are going to come back, that is a question mark in parentheses. I think they will not come back, and if they do, they don't want to accept the policies that ECOWAS put on them, especially on military, military juntas who take power to go back to civil battle. They will not want to relinquish their power. Mali will not want that. Burkina Faso will not want that, and Niger as well wouldn't want that. So if those are conditions that they met on them, then they will not come back to ECOWAS.
Good. I think that is very clear. Now, how might the withdrawal of these three countries and forming their own union could influence their external partners, including African Union and foreign nations?
Yeah, actually, this is a threat to some of these countries, especially ECOWAS. The ECOWAS will no longer be the same, and this is a particular claim that one of these particular people who are found in Burkina Faso said. That is Sisi, as in Kabari Sisi. He says that he told the BBC that the African states can no longer be the same. That is, they will no longer be united as before. You understand what I mean? So he will attack unionism, because the Sahel region will never speak the same language with ECOWAS.
Exactly.
Yeah, they will always speak a different language. But what is true is that they are still using the foreign language, which is French.
Yes.
And then if they are able to, then they will go to their language.
Exactly.
I believe. But let me just make this very clear that there is no justification in coup. You understand what I mean?
Exactly.
And also there is no justification in overstaying in power. Leaders who finish their mandate should leave. That is the problem that we have in Africa. And Abraham Barry, the professor, will say that African leaders are always in a problem. They are the problems of Africa. Why? Because since independence, he says Africa concede problems of leadership. And if you want to understand whether we are still colonized or we are not, he said, go to the borders. He said the colonial legacy is found in the African borders. And the free movement that Ecowas called for, it is more difficult now to travel between African countries than even travel into Europe.
Exactly.
Why? Ecowas should ensure that there is, free movement of people and goods from one place to another. And in fact, those people who are traveling should not be kept there to travel too long. That is where the problem lies.
Okay, Mr. Buso, thank you so very much for that answer. Now, what step do you think ECOWAS could take in order to ensure the regional stability, even though these three countries have backed out?
Yeah, it is to re-strategize. ECOWAS need to re-strategize. It needs to be more flexible in terms of how it deals with its members. It needs to ensure that it also meets its standard in terms of addressing the problems of Africa, or West African countries, especially those member states. So if they think that they are not addressed or they are not addressed in any way, then they have the right to boycott. Look at Mali, how deplorable Mali is. If you look at Mali, you can understand that as much as ECOWAS is concerned, Mali is becoming poorer and poorer, and they have been looted by the French in Mali itself. What did ECOWAS do to end this new colonial move in order to extract the resources of Africa in the expense of Africans?
So one could conclude that, like, in order for a country to become developed, sometimes you need to face sanctions and also need to be isolated. Because yes, not only in Africa, you've seen many countries that have been sanctioned, even countries like North Korea, countries like Russia, they were once sanctioned by the West. But that was the time they become economically strong.
Yeah, that is proven. Yeah, that is proven in terms of actions and in terms of proactiveness.
Exactly.
We have seen that in the case of Niger, as I told you, that Niger, all these countries are bordered with other countries. To stop the borders, like there are 6 or 7 countries that are bordered here.
Right now?
Yeah, right now in the Sahel, around the Sahel. That is Mali, Niger, you have Benin, of course, you have Togo, you have Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. That is, you also have Ghana. You understand? All bordering within this particular area. So if there is any stoppage in terms of the movement of people and goods, it will not affect only the close countries around, but it will affect some ECOWAS countries.
Exactly.
You understand? And ECOWAS is very mindful about the strategic location of these particular countries in the Sahel. So there is no free movement of people and goods if they have no passage through Niger or through Benin, Mali, and other countries. You understand? Even Burkina Faso. So this is the case that ECOWAS is confronted with. And I believe ECOWAS can only strive better when they have these people back. But how are they going to get them back? Except if they promulgate in their laws and try to accommodate them and also solve their problems in the appropriate time.
Okay. But I think, Mr. Buso, it will be very difficult for ECOWAS to accommodate these three countries now, since they differ in policies. These three countries are not in support of the policies being put forward by ECOWAS. And I don't think that ECOWAS is going to compromise their policies in order to go by these people. So are you foreseeing any sign of them also trying to come together in order to discuss this and try to end them out?
Yeah, except if ECOWAS necessitate that. I'm not sure any of the juntas will try to call ECOWAS to duties in order to discuss peaceful agreements in terms of this. But what is true is they both welcome that people and goods should move from one place to another. But what ECOWAS have in laws is that they have laws half of their total geographical land area. I don't know whether you understand that. If you join these three countries,
Yes.
their land area is bigger than the remaining other countries in Africa. That is half of that particular.
It's very interesting.
Ecowas now have only one, half, or they have only half in terms of land area, even though they have many people as possible, but they don't have the
land size.
Yes, yes.
The geographical location.
Yes, so they have lost about 50%
Wow.
of the land in terms of what it is. Yes, that is the reality in terms of how these countries are big. Because Mali is one of the biggest countries in Africa. You understand? Losing Mali, losing Niger, and also losing Burkina Faso. These countries are found in the Sahel, and it's because of their, Sahara, because of the Sahara Desert, they become partially, settlements.
Exactly.
So these partial settlements are very, very good, big countries, and then having to lose them means you have lost, in combination, you have lost half of your geographical area.
Good. So it seems like, it means Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, we are playing a very, very crucial role as well as far as geographical location is concerned in ECOWAS.
Yes.
So they bargain out, these three countries bargain out is going to hamper the movement of the countries in ECOWAS. So
that's very awkward.
good. That is very important. Well, Mr. Buson, just to move further, I just want to ask you this question, like how might this affect the relations of participating countries with other ECOWAS members, like in example, in terms of football? You can take an example of that. Since these people are back out, you think that they would even be able to participate?
Yeah.
Because I realized something. ECOWAS, most of the time, speak in the same voice with African Union.
Yes, that's correct.
So you understand?
Yes.
Now, we all know that we have a federation here, or this thing, a football. We normally organize a football, African countries. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
So if these countries have withdrawn from ECOWAS, and we know that ECOWAS and African Union normally speaks in one voice,
yes,
how will this impact on the area of football?
Yeah, it can have an impact. Actually, it may not have a major impact now, but there could be long-run impact if they have not come to unite. Yeah, because what happened is here it is said that it will not only cause the withdrawal pattern, but it will also worsen regional unity and cooperation in combating insurgencies, and of course in other activities that they were participating in terms of ECOWAS activities. Of course, you have the WAFU. They will not join that anymore. There is the West African Federation. They will not join that particular contest.
Yes, exactly.
But what is true is that they can join African Cup of Nations. But if there are other threats that they face, they can choose to withdraw from participating. These are what things countries do, and it will affect the goal of the major as ECOWAS.
Good. Now, what advice will you give it to both parties, both ECOWAS and this alliance of?
Yeah, actually, whatever Mugi will say, my boss, what is done is undone. Yeah, you understand.
What is done is undone.
Yes, what is done is already undone. That means we cannot change the fact that this country are ruled by juntas, because they are already in places. And it is based on that ECOWAS threatened to sanction them, and they did give them those particular sanctions. And the countries that were sanctioned, some of them strike. Of course, they are still thriving because they rely on one another.
Yes.
You understand, in order to support one another. Yeah, based on military basis or backgrounds. You understand, and that is why ECOWAS perhaps did not attack Niger in the intervention, because Mali and Burkina Faso give a threat that if they do, then they will also intervene. And war is not the solution in Africa. But I believe the only way that they were going to end the insurgencies in Africa is by coming together. But is ECOWAS ready now to support them, free Mali from this and other countries that are also at threat?
Exactly.
That is the question mark in parentheses. But if I want to advise both parties, I understand that the Sahel, the federation can be there, but they can also come back to ECOWAS and then continue on their federation. Yeah, that confederation may not be hampered, and the goals that they have may be just like goals to complement ECOWAS effort. But if ECOWAS is not willing to accommodate them based on what they are, you understand? For instance, what the world will say, understand? If you look at somebody and then look at the person as the person is. But if you don't want to see the person like the person, the person will choose to be himself.
Exactly.
So then, yes, that is the case.
That is the case. So that is advice you will give it to them?
Yeah.
Good. Mr.
They should ensure that there is peace in Africa, because Nana Akufo-Addo said this: war is not the solution in Africa. And this happened when he paraded his 500 army soldiers that he was supposed to disperse in a war to, relinquish this man into power. That is Laurent Gbagbo during the crisis in Cote d'Ivoire. But he says, is war the solution? He addressed the nation after he paraded his army, and then called Africans to duty and tell them that peace is better than the war that they are calling for. And I believe all the countries in Africa should embrace peace instead of war, because all the countries that have been to war could only realize that they had lost more than they could gain from the war. So it is peace that is more important, and then it is security itself that is more important than whatever could be created by this unity and misunderstanding or miscommunication. I believe if ECOWAS could have done better if they were not confronted with other things, if other things like weaknesses, if Macky Sall, for instance, was not able to go for that term, then they could have resolved the cases of Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali that time. But that has to be an agenda of an already. They prolonged the resolution, so they could not come to resolution other than going to address Macky in terms of what he wanted.
Good. This is the end of the program. With me in the studio is Mr. Abubakar E. Busu. Inshallah, he's my boss. Today, our discussion was based on ECOWAS, assessing the effectiveness of ECOWAS and what impact could two, 3 members withdrawing from ECOWAS have on their members. Like my boss made mention something that is very important. War is not the solution for Africa. In order for Africa to thrive, in order for Africa to make progress, we need to speak in one voice, trying to come together as one. That is the only way for Africa. So what will be your last words or your last?
Yeah, my last word is to call people to duties, especially African leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's say African leaders are afraid to pursue Africans' agenda. Let me say it like this, and ECOWAS is being tasked in this particular claim that they are not making the decisions for Africa, the decision that Africa wants, that they are, pursuing a Western agenda. And this is one of the reasons why this particular 3 nations back out from ECOWAS. So if ECOWAS continue to guide European agenda, or let me say Western agenda, then more countries are threat of leaving. So I want to say that let our leaders speak the language that Africans understand, that is the colonization of the African minds, and then sovereignty, in order to avoid exploitation and in fact expropriation. Expropriation, according to my professor, is the highest level of exploitation. Expropriation.
Mashallah, that word it is the highest form. That is what from exploitation you go to expropriation. Mashallah. I think that is something that African leaders will listen to, try to speak in one voice. Try to speak the language that Africans understand. You cannot be here speaking Japanese when you know that you are in Africa. So this is why sometimes they do. And the rest that are coming here, they only do what we call one size fits all. What work for Japan, I do tell people, cannot work for Africa, cannot work for Gambia in fact. Meaning the trend and the path that the Japanese have taken in order to realize this development that they have in. If you want to employ or implement the same strategies, it will be very difficult for Africa to develop.
Yeah.
But like my boss said, when Africans speak in one voice, try to come together as one, that unified force that they have, believe me, they will be able to do something unimaginable. My boss, thank you so very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
It is my pleasure having you here today.